Okay, so you've had accountability partners in the past and you've said you want to show up a certain way, but something is always getting in the way. My name's Kate Simon and I coach CEOs, executives, and leaders across the country to maximize their personal potential to hit their goals. And today, we're gonna be going over the reasons why accountability fails and ultimately what we can do about it so that we can succeed with accountability. Okay, so point number one as to why accountability fails, and this is what we see with our clients all across the country, is that there's a lack of clarity around what the accountability is going to do for them. Now, whether they're working on running a race, making hires, cutting expenses, if there's a goal in mind, they're not yet sure what cutting expenses is going to do to their operation, or they're not yet sure what finishing this race is going to do for their health, for their confidence. So it's really important that you have clarity around what it is that you want to be held accountable to, but more specifically, what the accountability is going to do for your life and for your business and for you as a person on the other side of this. Let me give you an example of creating clarity around something you want to be held accountable to. Let's say you want to be held accountable to getting back in the gym a certain amount of times per week for a certain duration of time. The question I would ask you if you were my client is, what does success in health look like for you in this season of your life? And we take that question and we insert whatever area it is that you're looking to have accountability in, and we really work with the client to make sure that they have a really specific idea of what success in a given area of their life looks like right now. I'll give you another example. What does success in business look like to you in this season of your life? What does success in parenting look like for you in this season of your life? What does success with fitness look like for you in this season of your life? Now, what I'm hoping you're getting from this is that how you answer that question is going to be different depending on where you're at in your life, and it's important that we as coaches and leaders help our clients get the clarity they need around what those metrics are, but more specifically around why they're doing it in order for the accountability protocol to actually stick. All right, the second point here, and I see this all the time as to why accountability fails, is that the client is picking the wrong metric to track. They are outsourcing their accountability to something that they cannot control, such as whether or not a client decides to hire them, instead of keeping it internal to something that they and their habits and their behaviors can specifically control. Here's the reality. We could, in theory, do all the right things every single day, and we may not hit our production goal. That is a real thing. And we as salespeople would have to decide whether or not we want to do more work, where we want to adjust, or if we're okay with not hitting that goal. And when we find ourselves in that position as a coach and as a leader, one of my rules for my clients is to make sure we could at least say we did absolutely everything within our power to show up and hit that goal. Meaning, we showed up to the office on time, we did our mindset work, we did our skill work, we did focused prospecting, and we had accountability partners along the way. If those items are intact, that means that we can take total and complete ownership about our accountability plan rather than saying we've hit our accountability goal only if somebody decides to hire us. So I'm gonna give you guys a quick little formula to follow, and to be clear, I did not invent this. I'm sure you guys have heard this time and time again, but creating SMART goals. So in order for your goal around accountability to be a SMART goal, it has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be attainable. Meaning, if you're looking to run a marathon, it's probably not the best idea to start your training protocol saying that you're running every single day 15 miles a day. Those who have ran a marathon before, you understand that that may not be an attainable goal for somebody who's just working on their running endurance. So we have specific, measurable, attainable. We have relevant, which means is the metric that we're looking to be tracked relevant to the goal that we have, right? Like, if we have a goal to sell more houses, what are we tracking? Are we tracking social media posts? Are we tracking conversations? Or are we tracking how many cards we passed out at the park, right? We have to make sure that whatever it is we're tracking is the most appropriate and relevant thing we need to be tracking for our goal. So the last letter here on our SMART goals is time-based. So letter T in SMART is time-based goals, which means we need to do X, which is our accountability protocol, in Y period of time. We need to prospect 20 contacts a day for 30 days in a row. We need to run a mile every single day for 6 months in a row, right? So in order for an accountability protocol to be successful, we need to be making sure that we're following the SMART goals formula. So point number 3 on why accountability fails is typically because it's not painful enough if the client doesn't do their job. Now, there's 2 schools of thoughts in coaching around accountability, and it's either coaching towards pleasure or away from pain. And 9 times out of 10, we're putting a client in an accountability protocol that's away from pain. Now, I'm not gonna get into the specifics of that. So actually, if you guys wanna watch a video on this, we just made one on creating an accountability protocol. So I will save the information for that. And what I'll say is that the 3rd reason why accountability fails is because the pain point we picked, whatever it is typically not strong enough to interrupt their pattern and cause them to act or do something differently. So one of the last points here on why accountability fails, and believe me when I say this is actually a good thing, so stick with me here, is that we discover together as coach and client that the price it takes to do what they want to do is too high. Okay? The price it takes to do the work that they say they want to do is something that they're actually unwilling to do. Now, when I initially say that, there could be a gut reaction of shame, of judgment, of saying, well, oh my gosh, does that mean I'm not a hard worker? Does that mean that, I'm a loser if I don't hit this? And as a coach, I always try to create a space around the fact that no, this just means that we now have feedback about what's important to you and what you're willing to do in order to do that. Now, here's how this shows up. Whenever we onboard a client to Glover U, 9 times out of 10, we have some sort of production goal that's bigger than they've ever hit before. And as a coach, it is my job to help carve out the path in order for you to hit that goal by any and all means necessary. Now, I try to be mindful of personal time, family time, whatever else is important in the life of the client, but eventually we have to ask ourselves if the work that is required to hit the goal is something they can achieve with the time that they have. Now, here's how that shows up. Let's say we have a client who is committed to being home every single day at 5 o'clock for dinner, bedtime, bath time. They've got young kids, and family time is really important to them. Now, if any of you have young kids like me at home, you know that there's very few things that are going to interrupt that pattern because the time that we have with our kids at this age is just so small. And so what that ultimately comes down to is this client, or I'll use myself as an example, my day has a hard stop at or around 4 o'clock, meaning I'm not doing anything work related after the hours of 4 because I've made a decision that being present for my family is most important to me in this chapter of my life. So working backwards from 4 o'clock, we have a start time of anywhere between 7:30 to 8, some days 8:30. And now I'm working with a window of time between 8:30 and 4 in order for me to hit my goals. Now, depending on what the accountability protocol is, meaning, is it something where I need to make 40 conversations a day? Do I need to be going on an appointment every day? You can see that that's actually not a lot of time to achieve big things. Now, it's possible with a high level of skill and a high level of focus, you absolutely can achieve a ton from 8:30 to 4. That being said, the question as a coach that I would have to ask is how uncomfortable are you willing to be on the pursuit of hitting this goal? Time and time again, I've had clients walk into accountability protocols thinking that they want to sell 100 houses a year or that they want to build a team. And ultimately what they discover in the process is what it costs them. And I'm not talking money, I'm talking time, mental, emotional. What it costs them is not worth what they're losing on the other side. So I always go back to the question of what does success look like to you in this season of your life? And if an accountability protocol can help you get clarity around what your values are and what's most important, it is not a failure to reevaluate your goal at point number 4. I will say it is not a failure to decide that the work that you committed to doing is actually more than you want to do for the sacrifices that you have to make. I will tell you this, as a working mother of 2, the work is always going to be there. The opportunity to be present for our family is not. So as you're choosing your accountability protocol and specifically your work goals, make sure that it lines up with what your core values are as well. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. On a future video, we're going to be going over crafting our core values and how to build a business plan in accordance with them. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you at the next one.